Good morning and welcome to our second Whole Health Louisiana semi-annual summit. Today, we're going to talk about the progress made over the last 6 months and give you a glimpse into where we're heading for year two. If you go to the next slide, Brooklyn. So as most of you know, Whole Health Louisiana is the state's plan to systematically address the widespread issue of childhood adversity and trauma. The Louisiana Department of Health is the public sector anchor, collaborative partner, and funder of the initiative, and the Blanco Center is the statewide lead for implementation and evaluation. All right, so here is a QR code that will take you to the Whole Health Louisiana statewide plan if you haven't had the opportunity to see it before, and go ahead and look through it. And it looks like we're having a bit of a tech issue here. We're going to try and get those slides to be full screen, but we're getting it. There we go. Okay. Thank you. All right. And let's see. So as we think about Whole Health Louisiana, we really have 4 different priority areas: collaboration, awareness, prevention and healing, and workforce. And as we think about collaboration, our long-term expected outcome is that Louisiana's child and family serving entities can more effectively collaborate in service of improving outcomes for children and families. This is a big job that requires input and hard work from all of us. Our second goal is awareness, which has to do with improving information about the initiative, the challenges with childhood adversity and their impact on the state as a whole, and what we can do to change our state's trajectory. In striving to achieve this goal, we hope Louisiana's decision makers, child and family serving workforce, and the general public have a greater understanding of and a decreased stigma toward childhood adversity and its impacts. All right, next slide. Our third goal, prevention and healing, aims to make sure that Louisiana's residents are able to access the services they need to prevent and or heal from the effects of trauma. This can include access to existing or new services that they may need. And finally, the fourth goal, workforce, is aimed at supporting Louisiana's child and family serving entities. By addressing workforce challenges and investing in opportunities to improve the workforce, the initiative aims to make sure that these entities are fully trauma-informed and healing-centered. All right. As we think about the role that the Blanco Center plays within this, we're doing several different things as the state lead. First, implementation and collaboration, gathering data about all the activities that are going on and analyzing how that's going, and then also evaluating how the plan is going as we first this year helped launch the implementation, and then continue to move forward over the next several years. Now I have the opportunity to introduce Assistant Secretary for the Office of Public Health, Tanya Joyner, who will be joining us to talk a little bit about her reflections on the first year here. So Assistant Secretary Joyner has served in multiple leadership roles in the Louisiana Department of Health since 2016. Most recently as Deputy Secretary, and before that as Chief of Staff. She has more than 17 years of experience driving legislation development and passage, overseeing legal and regulatory compliance, and leading public health and advocacy campaigns. Before she served as Chief of Staff, she served as the department's legislative director, advising leadership on policy, legislative decision-making, and administration. And before joining LDH, she served as the staff attorney for the Louisiana House of Representatives, where she provided research, policy advisement, bill drafting, and support to members of the legislature. Assistant Secretary Joyner earned her JD at Southern University Law Center and her Bachelor of Arts in Political Science and Government at the University of Louisiana at Lafayette. And so I will pass it to her to give us a few notes on her thoughts.
Good afternoon, and thank you, Anna, and the Whole Health Louisiana team for having me today. On behalf of the entire Louisiana Department of Health, our Secretary, Bruce Greenstein, our Surgeon General, Dr. Ralph Abraham, and our Deputy Secretary, Dr. Pete Krogan, I am honored to welcome each of you to the second Whole Health Louisiana semi-annual summit. Today marks an important milestone in our department's mission to prevent and address childhood adversity and trauma through the Whole Health Louisiana statewide plan, a mission that's not only professional for me, but deeply personal. As a mother, I carry this work with me every day, and I want all mothers to have what they need to protect and nurture their children. And I want every child in Louisiana to have a real opportunity to heal, grow, and thrive, regardless of their background or challenges they faced. That is the heart of Whole Health Louisiana. It represents a transformational shift in how we care for children and families, a shift from reacting to trauma to preventing it, from treating symptoms to investing in healing, and from working in silos to building collaborative cross system solutions. And it's about creating a Louisiana where every family is supported and every child is seen, heard, and valued. Over the past year, we've made remarkable strides in forging strong cross-sector partnerships, also raising public awareness and expanding access to vital services. But most importantly, we've done it together. I would be remiss if I didn't take a moment to recognize our Office of Public Health team, whose leadership and dedication has been so foundational to this work. Our Deputy Assistant Secretary, Elizabeth Atkins, who leads our Center for Community and Preventive Health. Amy Zapata, our Director of Family Health, and Christine Lowbury, our Trauma and Resilience Strategy Manager, who leads the Whole Health Louisiana program, and of course, the entire Bureau of Family Health, whose tireless efforts have brought the Whole Health vision to life. And I also want to extend a heartfelt thanks to our partners, specifically the Blanco Policy Center and the University of Louisiana at Lafayette, who leads this great work in partnership with the Bureau of Family Health, Tulane University, as well as a host of many other partners, providers, and community leaders who continue to support this very important work. This initiative could not have come this far without your dedication, collaboration, and shared commitment to Louisiana families. You've helped create a strong foundation, and now we have to build on it. As we look to year two, I encourage you to remain committed to transforming this plan into lasting change for the entire state. So let's work to strengthen our connections across systems of care, deepen our community engagement, and provide targeted technical assistance, training, and workforce development. As we reflect on the journey so far and the work that is still ahead, I thank you for your presence, your partnership, and your belief in what's possible. Let's continue this important work together because every child in Louisiana deserves to live a whole life, one that is safe, healthy, and connected. Thank you so much for this time.
Yeah, that was lovely. And I will say it's been such a treat for us to partner with the Department of Health and your entire staff over there. We have thoroughly enjoyed this journey with you so far and are so excited for our next year. I will now pass it over to Quinn, a Blanco Center team member, who will talk to us a little bit about some of the focus areas that we've had during year one.
Hey everyone, I'm gonna go over and briefly talk about the implementation plan that the Blanco Center implemented for this semi-annual period. Next slide, please. So really quickly, as if you have attended any of the following activities, you might be already familiar with them. But we've had regional trainings across all 9 public health regions in Louisiana. Our Lunch and Learn series, which is one Thursday for every month. Coalition meetings and semi-annual summits, which, as you guys all are here, includes this one. And so this just points to the different work that we at the Blanco Center are doing in conjunction with the Louisiana Department of Health to implement the state plan. I'm now going to go and hand it over to Brooklyn to talk about our coalition.
Hey everybody, nice to see y'all again. So we've done a lot of work so far to build a stronger coalition. As you can see, we've recently implemented 3 new tiers. We have guiding member, supporting member, and participating member. We've actually recently got the chance to go ahead and meet with some guiding members to do some really cool work. So we have some really great things planned. And if you know anyone who'd be interested in joining the coalition, it is not too late. I'm gonna have my colleague Emma drop the sign up link in the chat. But all in all, we've just done a lot of great work with the coalition. And speaking of the coalition, I'm going to pass it on back to Anna to introduce our next speaker, Dr. Paula Zena.
All right. Yes, it is my pleasure to introduce Dr. Paula Zena from Tulane University. She's a coalition member who we've been working with closely this last year. And we're so delighted that she is interested in engaged in the coalition. As Brooklyn just shared, we have many different options for our coalition members in terms of the time and interest in participation. We know that folks across the state are interested in this initiative, and some have more time that they can donate than others. And we want to make sure that there are opportunities for everyone to be as engaged as they can within the coalition. So to tell you a little bit about Dr. Zena, who will talk a little bit about why she's a coalition member and some of the work that she does. Just to give you a little background on her, she has worked with children and families with significant medical and psychiatric issues, as well as healthy children and families throughout her career as a pediatric nurse and clinical child psychologist. She provides direct services, clinical supervision, and training for the Pediatric Psychiatry Consultation Liaison Program, a required component of the child psychiatry training and a core rotation for the child psychology internship program. In her work with the Louisiana Office of Public Health, she's involved in program development and professional training for the statewide home visitation program and provides oversight of infant mental health consultation for the Nurse Family Partnership. The main focus is on mental health issues related to pregnancy, infancy, and early childhood, including perinatal depression, perinatal loss, mental health screening and consultation, and parent-infant assessment. So she will talk with us a little bit more about her rationale for continuing to support this initiative and participating in the coalition. All right, Paula, hand it over to you.
Thank you, Anna. I am thrilled to be able to give a little brief overview. Your introduction was good, but it's out of date, so I have to get it updated a little bit. But it's okay because it provides kind of a background for where I'm coming from. So I'm just going to spend a few minutes kind of talking about, how I got into this and sort of, where I think it's, the relevance that I see for it, if that makes sense. So I learned about ACEs, as Anna said, a few years ago, for many years, I worked at Tulane Department of Psychiatry, and I also worked with the Office of Public Health in their home visiting program. And through both of those experiences with medically ill kids as well as at home visiting, obviously lots of contact with children and families who are experiencing all kinds of trauma and stresses. So when I heard about ACEs around 2011, 2012, from one of my public health colleagues, I was sort of immediately intrigued because it really resonated. The findings that early experience affects later outcomes was not a new concept for me at all. We know that in our world, but the way that it affected others in terms of the long-term health outcomes and all that we are familiar with was kind of blown away by. That was really news to me. In my work in home visiting, part of the goal of that is to prevent adversity with young children, to get them off to the best start, to really support that parent-child relationship and those kinds of things. But with a very small review that we did when we were beginning to do the work in home visiting, we found that many of the mothers had experienced all kinds of traumas, including loss and mental health issues and physical health issues and abuse, including sexual abuse and accidents and injuries and parental injuries and IPV and everything. And oftentimes they had experienced more than one. In other words, they had faced a lot of challenges in their lives. So thinking about ACEs as a framework really made a whole lot of sense, and the content was very relevant. When the Office of Public Health developed their ACE interface training in 2015, I became one of the first people. I became a member of the first cohort. And embarked on doing lots and lots of training around ACE interface. We were lucky at that time to have Dr. Anda do that training, and Dr. Feliti was down in Louisiana a lot, so we were getting a lot of contact. That led me to joining what was called the ACE Initiative, which was a statewide group at the time that was promoting ACE education and advocacy. And out of that group, a couple of things happened. One is we created the first statewide ACE Summit that was held in Lafayette in 2019. Statewide, we had national as well as local speakers. First Lady Donna Edwards gave us the greeting, and it was really a wonderful opportunity to bring a lot of people together to learn about ACEs. And it was also a way of bringing people from the ACE initiative as well as the College of Nursing and Psychology Department at ULL, where I was then working, to work together on ACE education. The other thing that happened as during this particular time was that we recognized that there was a need for more data. There was a lot of ACE education going on, but we really didn't have a sense of how it was affecting people, what they needed, and that sort of thing. So in collaboration, again, with folks from the ACE Initiative, from Tulane and LSU, we conducted the first statewide survey to get an idea of the education, the advocacy and so forth that was going on. And we also did key informant interviews. And across those two activities, what struck me was, first of all, what was happening across the various corners of the state. So there were a lot of communities that were in Baton Rouge and New Orleans and North Louisiana and other places that were really taking it upon themselves to try to develop more region or area specific education and endeavors. But it was also clear that we were never going to be able to get enough information out there by doing these one-on-one trainings, these brief trainings. So that made me think we need to really get in at the college level. At the time, again, I was working at UL Lafayette, and there wasn't a lot of ACE education going on. There was some, and there was some very good stuff that was happening. And out of that, we eventually developed a group of faculty as well as community members, which evolved into the Acadiana Positive and Adverse Childhood Experiences Alliance, PACES Alliance, still very active in promoting education and collaboration and advocacy. So all of that is to say that once I learned about what First Lady Donna Edwards was doing to start the initiative to develop a state ACE plan, I was thrilled. And I've been honored to be a part of the development of the statewide discovery process, the conceptualization and implementation of Whole Health Louisiana. And I'm very excited to see the work, being carried out in terms of education, advocacy, and support. I hope Dr. Hung Chu Lin is leading a research program to evaluate the effectiveness of core sector workforce training and trauma-informed care designation initiative. I hope we'll be working with her if CDC approves our grant. Wait and see about that. It's clear that much research is needing, but there's a lot of good work happening in Louisiana. And I believe that the work that is done through the Blanco Center, as well as other research around the state, will be the most powerful way we have of promoting our efforts and the needs of the families in our state. We have a long way to go, but there are so many competent and committed and caring people as part of this initiative. It gives me hope for Louisiana because I really do believe that if we can address effectively ACEs, that may be our path out of our poor health and educational standings that we've languished in for so long. So again, I'm honored to be a part of this most important undertaking. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Paula. It's certainly been delightful working with you and Hung Chu on the grant, and we're so excited for it, and just our fingers are crossed that they fund it so we can continue to move that work forward. So well, thanks for being here today and for your enthusiasm for the coalition. I'm now going to pass it to Emma, another Blanco Center team member, who will tell us a little bit about the implementation activities that have happened throughout this last 6 months. Go ahead, Emma.
Awesome, thank you. Thanks, Anna, and thanks again to our coalition members for all of their support throughout the first year of WHL activities. So since we last talked to all of you, we have officially completed all 9 trainings across all of the regions in the state, including Monroe, which had to be rescheduled twice, first because of Hurricane Francine and then because of the blizzard back in January, but we finally got there. And it was a great training. It had our second highest attendance, I think, out of all of them, right behind New Orleans. So it was a great conclusion to sort of our in-person activities for year 1. Across all the regional trainings, we had 173 attendees, and we distributed 113 CEUs. They also gave us an opportunity to sort of speak with attendees and hear about their experiences in providing trauma-informed care to clients or patients, or trying to kind of implement TIC within their organizations. And that's been really valuable for us to kind of collect input directly from frontline providers and collate trauma-informed resources in each region. So we really appreciate that. We've also had a lot of success with our Lunch and Learn webinar series. And I see some of our previous webinar speakers are in the call today. We're incredibly grateful for your presentations. And anyone here who's been kind of attending and participating in the Q&As, those have been really engaging and interesting conversations, and we're thankful for everybody's contributions there for sure. We've had 224 attendees at the Lunch and Learns, and we've distributed 62 CEUs. And we're currently working on setting up the next batch for the next half of the year. And we're really excited about the speakers that we've got in the queue for that. More info forthcoming, so keep an eye out. And just to give you an idea of the kind of reach broadly of WHL in year one, overall, we've had 430 people attend WHL events. 35 organizations have engaged in the initiative. The newsletter has 311 subscribers with an open rate of 56%. That's 16% more than the industry average. And we've garnered over 500 impressions on our top post on the Blanco Center's LinkedIn. In addition to kind of all of our implementation activities from year one, the Blanco Center has also been doing some monitoring and evaluation on the plan itself. And I'm going to pass it over to Jordan from our monitoring and evaluation team to talk more about that. Thank you.
Thank you, Emma. So yes, I'm Jordan Thibodeau. I am Associate Director here at the Blanco Center and Evaluation Lead, along with my partner in this, Eric Mills. He and I have been tasked with monitoring and evaluation within this scope of this work. So you can go to the next slide. So I just want to orient the viewer to the graphic, which is familiar to many. It's the implementation phased approach table that's part of the plan, which selected out phase 0 and phase 1 to give you what's been going on as a focus of articulating the evaluation and monitoring within the first year. So we have this graphic showing that there's strategies of year one over the 4 major areas, plan priorities. And as you can see from the color code, each priority area is supported by a number of recommendations that may be implemented by partnerships, supported by WHL leadership, that's LDHR or the statewide lead, the Blanco Center, as well as those members within the coalition or external partners. So you can, the primary focus, I should say first, has been obviously, as you see the presented slides from Emma, on awareness and collaboration, but we do have some monitoring over the other 2 areas. So go to the next slide. And what I have here is kind of a zoomed out view of the beginning of monitoring the plan's implementation within the first year. So there are a number of strategies that are in progress. And with respect to the plan, you know, I can highlight a few of those, but I first want to tell you how we're looking at this evaluatively through some of the methodology and how we're monitoring those data. So we've developed a logical framework to essentially structure the plan for evaluating Whole Health Louisiana by defining outcomes as well as key indicators that track the progress towards those outcomes. We've been in the process of reviewing documentation provided by leadership, as well as those within the implementation team's activities. We're also taking the data from the field in the form of quantitative and qualitative data. Those include things like pre and post surveys of events with regard to trainings and lunch and learns. We're using outreach data that's being collected, as well as the coding of thematic data collected in the field, again, referencing the regional trainings as part of that. And we're looking forward to more evaluation opportunities, hopefully, in the coming years, as Dr. Zena mentioned, a potential CDC grant evaluation opportunity. And as we continue to develop the evaluation We are certainly looking forward to receiving your input, those partners here on the call, as well as those who might become engaged. So looking forward to year 2. And with that, I'm going to pass it back over to Anna.
Thanks, Jordan. And I'll also say that for many of you, if you participated in one of our activities, you've probably received a follow-up email from Jordan or his team asking you to let them know what you thought, how it went, different questions about the materials, things like that. So please do go ahead and take those surveys, because we are using that to track how things are going and think about what we can do better as we work to implement the plan across the state. Okay, so as we're thinking about where we're going, that's a nice segue into thinking about year 2 and what our plans are for the next year. So in year 1, really our goal was to help launch Whole Health Louisiana and get it out there into the field. There had been a lot of time spent really thinking critically about where we are as a state during the discovery process and writing the state plan, and we were just thrilled to be able to help begin to do that implementation. So over this last year, we've been looking at, as you've seen, a whole range of general practices that have been going on as we've talked to folks at regional trainings, at Lunch and Learns. We've begun doing these general trainings, one in each region. We were able to complete all of the regions, a training in each region across the state, and really build momentum for trauma-informed care across our state. As we look toward year 2, we are aiming to broaden that in some senses, but in other senses, really go deeper into specific areas. So we've been gathering all sorts of information during the regional trainings from folks and listening to what people are saying about the resources available in their area, the information that they have that they can share, aiming to pull all of that together. We've also heard a lot of interest in having specific groups get more information. At almost every single training, we've had folks come up to us and say, hey, do you think you could do a special training for my group over here, whether it's a teacher group or a specific state agency group, a regional organization. And so we're really excited in this next year to think about how we can be a little more targeted in our approach for some of these local institutions and organizations, as well as continue to work with our local policymakers, who are really the ones, the boots on the ground, that are making a difference in how this works at the local level. Okay, so as you can see, as we think about year 2, really trying to think about the pinnacle, reaching our target population, expanding trauma-informed care to community-based organizations, locally serving institutions, and local policymakers. So truly our goal is to reach those in need and everyone that works with children and families in Louisiana. However, we know that we still need to have a large base of collaboration with children and family serving groups and local policymakers. So there at the bottom, you see the dark purple that helps us think about what's the base that is helping us do our work, and that's really collaboration. So our collaborations with community-based organizations will continue over the second year. Similarly, as we think about prevention and healing and putting a larger emphasis on that over the next year, that and workforce, we know that we will continue to do some targeted regional trainings, potentially a virtual training, working with LDH to help think about the best way to do that. And continuing our Lunch and Learn series. We've been delighted with all of the speakers. I can't tell you how much I've learned from these different Lunch and Learn speakers that we've had. It's been great. And I've enjoyed seeing the real range of different information that has been shared at those. So year 2 will continue to have that specific information in small bites that people can join during their lunch hour. We'll also continue to conduct additional workforce focuses. And with these, we are considering over this next year how we can incentivize trauma-informed care workforce participation and growth. So thinking through how we create opportunities for engaging with the material from different workforces. We're also looking at potentially building a trauma-informed workforce designation and certificate program. So more on that to come as we get that organized and figured out. We're continuing to build awareness. Many of you have engaged with our newsletter, with some of our social media posts, have looked at the YouTube of events that you were unable to watch. And if you don't know about our YouTube, I'll have Emma share some information about that. If you've missed one of the lunch and learns and want to catch up on one of them later, they're all there recorded and available for doing that. And we encourage everyone to share that information. We know that the environment for is wide open for sharing that information, and part of being an engaged member of the coalition means having an opportunity to direct share with your colleagues and network who may or may not have had the opportunity to engage in Whole Health Louisiana thus far. Okay. Well, just as we're sort of thinking about that, we're also going to continue working with some different groups across the state. And I'm delighted to introduce Matthew Thornton, who is working in partnership with LDH on a pilot in Northeast Louisiana. So Matthew Thornton is a licensed marriage and family therapist and licensed professional counselor with extensive experience as an AAMFT approved supervisor. He earned his PhD in marriage and family therapy from the University of Louisiana Monroe. And for nearly 2 decades, he has served in leadership at the Center for Children and Families, where he's currently the CEO. In addition to his leadership role there, Dr. Thornton is active in the academic community, teaching as adjunct faculty at institutions such as the Family Institute at Northwestern University. He also serves on the advisory committee for the Center for Evidence to Practice at LSU Health Sciences Center and chairs the Behavioral Health Committee for the 4th Judicial District's Child and Youth Services Planning Board. We're excited to work with Matthew and his team as they begin their new partnership with LDH this next year. All right, Matthew, I'm going to turn it over to you to talk a little bit about your organization, what your plans for the next year, and the collaboration that you see and expect over the next year with coalition members.
Yeah, I'm excited to share the work that we do at the Center for Children and Families and be a part of this. A lot of the Whole Health Louisiana project really aligns with our agency and our mission, which is to promote safe, healthy environments for children. And we do that through education, prevention, counseling, and advocacy efforts. And we do that in a lot of different spaces as well. So for us as an agency, we are headquartered in Monroe, Louisiana, which is that rural area in the northern part of the state that is sometimes hard to reach and hard to serve. That's kind of where we got our start. We also have regional offices over in Shreveport and in Crowley, Louisiana, and then an office over in Clinton, Mississippi as well. So we actually provide services in about 46 parishes in Louisiana and 5 counties in Mississippi. Last year, we served just around 5,000 kids, and most of those kids are coming from difficult places as well. So some of the efforts that we operate the Children's Advocacy Center in Northeast Louisiana that provides forensic interviews and supportive advocacy services for kids that have been abused or that have witnessed violent crimes. We operate the Court-Appointed Special Advocates Program, CASA program, for this the northeast corner of the state as well. That's actually how our agency got its start, was advocating for kids that were in foster care, that had been removed from their home because of abuse or neglect. And then a large portion of what we do is centered on therapeutic services. We work with juvenile offenders. We work with kids that are involved with the child welfare system. Schools work with us. So that's the largest portion of what we do. But everything that we do is focused on providing the highest quality care to the kids that need it the most. And so we've been in those spaces working with kids that have experienced trauma. Trauma-informed care practices has been something that has been very close to our heart in terms of implementation. And we've been able to do that successfully in some traditionally difficult places to implement evidence-based programs and different types of services. And so we're really excited to partner with LDH to do a pilot in Northeast Louisiana specifically to provide training and technical assistance to organizations that are seeking to implement trauma-informed care practices. So a couple of the goals that we have, one is to do a landscape assessment of this area of the state and kind of see what is happening right now, where are the gaps, what are bright spots that we can leverage, and really do a good job of really engaging folks that are already doing good work, and then finding where the gaps are and where people are interested in training. One of the interesting things to note is when we did finally do that regional training in Northeast Louisiana in Monroe, there was a large attendance there. And there was a lot of conversation that was had about some of the gaps and some of the needs. But there was a tremendous interest in wanting to learn more about how to implement trauma-informed care practices in organizations. So as part of the pilot that we're going to do over the next year is to develop some toolkits. And we want to think about that in terms of specifically for the different types of organizations and how they might implement trauma-informed care practices. So that's everything from how state agencies do that, how court systems may do that, how nonprofit agencies, mental health providers, and the full gambit. And we've started some of that work just in terms of providing some types of training in our area already. We've partnered with Crossroads out of New Orleans to provide trust-based relational intervention, TBRI training in our area. There's actually a training going on as we speak in our main office that has about 30 folks that are there from the community that are getting training in that particular approach to caring for kids from hard places. And aside from that, we're wanting to make sure that we can build those toolkits and provide additional training to those that are interested and build momentum that's already been built across the state that we've seen. And then hopefully work with LDH and other partners to be able to scale what we do to other parts of the state in whatever way we can support the efforts that are happening with the coalition or with the other areas of the state as well. We want to be supportive in that. So super excited to be a part of this initiative and looking forward to this next year of working together with the Blanco Center and also with the Bureau of Family Health as well with this. So thank you, Hannah.
Oh, wonderful. I know that folks may have some questions for you, Matthew, so I'm going to enlist Quinn to help moderate those. So folks, if you have questions for Matthew about projects that they've got going on or their plans for the next year, or for any of the other panelists, we have an opportunity to do that now. And I'll just say, Matthew, I was really struck by the question or by the discussion about toolkits. And so seeing as you've worked with a variety of different types of children, kids in foster care, probably kids in the judiciary system, kids that are healthy and thriving, but maybe need more family support. Tell us about kind of what are the different types of toolkits that you're thinking about over the next year developing? Are they all the same? Are they different? What are you thinking about? That's my question. And I'll let Quinn moderate the rest of the questions. So folks feel free to drop them in the chat.
Yeah, I think it's a great question. And I really am thinking about who is going to be doing the implementing. Because what we've seen in our work over the years at the center, we've been in operation for over 25 years now. What we've seen is there's a lot of crossover in the different systems of what kids are interfacing with child welfare, with juvenile justice, that are having trouble in schools. And so really what I'm thinking about is like, who's going to be implementing? Is that going to be in a school setting? Is that going to be in a nonprofit agency in a community-based type of setting? Is that a state agency? And what are the needs in that agency? Everything from how do we train support staff, such as receptionists when they answer the phone, the voice that families and kids hear matters, how that is done, all the way up through board members and decision makers for organizations in terms of decisions about programs and how they implement different things. And so I'm really thinking about the different types of organizations, tailoring some things specific to that, and then looking specifically at within those organizations, who needs to know what in order to do the best possible job for the kids that we're serving. So some of that's going to be general education, and some of that's going to be very specific with the different types of roles that people play within the system and how they interact with kids. So.
That's a great answer. Thank you, Matthew. Does anyone else have any other questions for any of our panelists or anyone here on the Blanco staff, we're happy to answer any questions that you may have about our implementation activities, our evaluation plan, or any other questions that you may have about the Whole Health Louisiana initiative.
I've got another one for you, Matthew. So you said you worked with it across 46 parishes. That's essentially 2/3 of the, almost a little more than 2/3 of the state. And really excited to hear the connections all the way from Northeast to New Orleans, because that's a broad swath of the state. So as you're thinking about building collaboration in this new role for your organization as a pilot, talk to us a little bit about how those previous connections that you have can help build those, new collaborations as you roll this pilot out.
Absolutely. So one of the things with building connections is first and foremost providing a great service to people, and making sure that when we're interfacing as an organization with state agencies or other organizations, we not only do great work for the kids, but we also provide a great service to them. We want that to be a central part of it. So we do have a great network already in place in a lot of the communities where we serve. We work with school systems. We've got MOUs with school systems in different parts of the state as well. We work with different organizations that refer to us for treatment for kids, as well as partners that we work with when they have specific things that they're able to offer that we don't. And so really leveraging those relationships, I think, is critical. Looking initially in Northeast Louisiana, as mentioned in the intro, I'm a part of the Youth Service Planning Board for the 4th Judicial District, which covers 2 parishes. There's about 25 organizations that participate in that initiative. And so that's already something we're talking about as part of that group of how we can support this work and how we can continue to grow the awareness and the implementation around that. I would definitely want to find avenues such as that. What are groups that are already in place that we can leverage and be able to help get excited about this work? Because it really is about changing the trajectory of the lives of the kids that we're serving. And I have story after story. I talk about, we've served, over, right at 5,000 kids last year. I do a lot of clinical supervision still within the work here. I know the names of kids that we have changed their life through the efforts that we have. And so that's what it's all about. And so if I can get people excited about that, I know they'll want to learn more. So that's where I would want to start.
Thank you. We have some questions in the chat as well, not the chat, the Q&A box as well, and they're not directed at anyone. So if anyone of our panelists or staff knows the answer, feel free to reply. One asks, is there a sustainability plan in place if federal or state funding changes due to administration policy shifts? This is a great question. If anyone wants to take it.
I can try and take that one. And then if someone from LDH wants to join in as well, I think we can have them answer that one too. I think that's really a great question since there's a lot of uncertainty going on right now. And what I'll say is that as a partner with LDH in this work, we're working hard to try and think about how we can diversify funding sources. And I know that they've been doing the same, thinking through what we can do to make this initiative successful long-term, whether it's due to changes at the federal level or just other ways that we can think about making the program just a little more self-sufficient. So we've been working with them on that, and yeah, certainly always looking for partners in that work. I know Paula had to leave, but she and Hung Chu with the evaluation grant that we applied for with them and some other different projects that we're potentially having the works with some other groups. Always feel free to approach us or any of our partners. Becky, Christine, I think are on here at LDA, at the Bureau of Family Health. But I don't know if either of them want to join. If you do, we can promote you if you want to talk about any of that as well.
We have another question, again, not directed specifically at anyone, so feel free to come on if you know the answer to this. Are there policies or programs in place to aid cultural and linguistic communication to better help Louisiana's diverse communities?
And yes, I know that there are. So one of the things that we've had at many of our presentations is having the sign language interpreters with us, which has been so wonderful. But I think certainly there are always opportunities to improve how we communicate with Louisiana's diverse communities. So certainly looking to grow that opportunity. Matthew, do you have any, you want to talk about work that your organization has done in this space?
I certainly can. I think, this kind of would fall into that workforce development portion for this plan, because that's a huge thing that we look at is, are we hiring, and do we have staff and people that are working that are representative of the communities that we serve? That's a critical piece. A lot of the work that we do is out in the community, even in homework. And so we want to be able to develop the workforce from those local communities. We see staying power, we see retention with staff members, and we also see the ability to get over some of those hurdles that may be in terms of communication or language barriers. Those kinds of things we're able to do. And then as an agency, we prioritize making sure that we do the best we can in terms of if there are hurdles in terms of getting interpreters or those kinds of things, and developing those resources in the communities that we're at. Sometimes we've had to create those for ourselves, by hiring or contracting with folks to help support that. But that is something that has to be a focus. But I think it would fall into that priority of workforce development in this initiative.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that answer. And I'm excited for us to be able to continue to grow the workforce that supports this important mission area in a whole bunch of different ways. So we've had a lot of interest from K-12 organizations across the state in terms of thinking about how they can engage within this space. And, honestly, they are both children and family serving organizations, but also the first step of growing the next workforce. So I think that it's really a lot of fun to be able to start there. The same with working with our higher ed institutions.
We have another question that popped up in the chat box. It says, I have a question related to family treatment courts in the Northeast region. There are collaborative court models that support families involved in the child welfare system due to substance use disorders. Do you have any knowledge about them in the area and how they are associated with trauma-informed care? I think this is directed towards you, Matthew, so feel free to answer.
Yeah, I can talk more specifically about, we operate the treatment services for a juvenile justice court in the area. We have a partnership with Judge Marchman and the 4th Judicial District to be able to offer that. And so we're able to implement trauma-informed care practices with that sort of thing. I don't know of a sort of outside that, what's happening in our region that may be other models that we can use, but that's kind of the primary one that I am aware of that's working very well with the court systems here. One of the things we did do for that court is we trained them all in TBRI as well. So that was something that we did. We're able to provide training to them so that they know more about what's going on. So when we give a report back to the court with the judge, she's got a frame of reference with decisions that she needs to make, and it also is more open to recommendations that we may have with what's going on with the family and how we can best serve them from a trauma-informed perspective, which works really well. So that's what I know of it right now. So.
And I want to actually follow up to that question, Matthew, because I'm familiar with the work. This question's coming from some work that we've done evaluating some family treatment courts in the Lafayette 15th JDC area. And from what it sounds like, what y'all are doing is a program of similar nature, but just kind of under a different house, where you're taking sounds like TBRI is a generational, is it a 2-generational approach where you're working with the caregiver and the child to focus on some of those attachment related issues and the, you know, other things that might come up that are barriers to successful completion, obviously on the part of a caregiver. So FTCs kind of do that in a way. Family treatment courts are more focused on the parent than the child, but it sounds similar.
Yeah, and I'll say that everyone will have an opportunity to hear from Secretary Matlock in July, so he may have some additional insights. And so I'm already excited about that lunch and learn that's coming up in a few months. Okay, well, maybe do we have more questions?
We have one more question. We'll answer this one and we'll wrap it up for today. This question asks, do the programs in this meeting attempt to address or account for social determinants of health / disparities in access to these services, for example, trauma-informed care?
I'll take a first stab at that one and then let Jordan and Matthew talk about it a little bit more. But yes, certainly, as we think about social determinants of health, like all of these different factors go into how we consider and address different types of trauma. So thinking about social determinants of health is a real great opportunity for looking at sort of the whole picture of the environment that impacts children and families. And so when we're thinking about trauma-informed care and how we're addressing past traumas and the ways that we're doing that, really thinking about the bigger picture is like a big piece of that. So I don't know, Matthew, you're nodding, you and Jordan are both nodding your heads, so.
I'll jump in. I absolutely. I don't think you can do this work without having that wider lens of looking at those social determinants, because you've got to address those family perspectives, things that are happening in the community as well. That's huge. Thinking about some of the areas we work in, there are high poverty areas. That's a critical issue. And then that will impact access to care, medical care, those kinds of things. So a lot of the work that we do is also connecting families to resources or being able to cut channels for resources. Just to kind of give you an idea of, how this kind of is seeping into the work that I'm doing with that Youth Service Planning Board. We've got really two major goals. One is to increase access to trauma-informed care. The other is to increase literacy, which is another huge determination of health, is early literacy rates and that sort of thing. So these are focuses that we have that have to be kind of brought to the table as well. So that's the reason to look at those wider partnerships through communities and different types of organizations and how they interface with kids so that you can kind of hit those different fronts on those determinants.
Yeah, and kind of reflecting back on Anna, the discussion around schools and engaging schools, we're aware of and are working with a program that focuses on increasing family literacy and family literacy engagement within schools. And so, instead of sort of going at the problem of systemic issues that lead to system involvement and traumatizing experiences, I agree that addressing through a wider lens, maybe going around through other kinds of supportive programs like literacy programs, holistic approaches, are a really great way to do that. And now I'm starting to think about how we can, in the future, engage some of these programs that we're evaluating that aren't necessarily directly laser focused on trauma-informed care, but they're certainly an ally, a partner in that effort. So I think that's a great thought.
Yeah, and I want to also chime in and say that that's also a good point for policy change when we are wanting to address and target the social determinants of health. Because when we're looking at drivers of trauma, such as poverty, that is something that can be addressed through policy and broader wide programs. And I also want to say that this question also kind of touches on our previous lunch and learn. So if you were there, with Dr. Veronica Gillespie Bell, she talked about social determinants of health and how you can account for that in your work, especially as a doctor, because that is her profession. We have her talk on our YouTube video. So if you missed her talk, it was amazing. You can watch it on our YouTube video to see that connection there, if you're interested. And so that's gonna be our last question for today, and we're gonna go ahead and wrap it up. Anna, should I hand it back to you to do last
Yep, Sure,
mentions?
do that.
Okay.
Yeah, so thank you everyone for joining us today. As we close this out, have a few reminders. If you go to the next slide. You can sign up for our newsletter, the coalition, get more information about the coalition. Look for regional trainings. We've completed the 9 that we have now, but there may be some additional ones coming up in year 2. And sign up for any of the lunch and learns there. So that link tree will get you there. So everything you need through this one QR code. I know that Emma has also been dropping links to specific things as we talk in the chat. So hopefully you've had the opportunity to follow some of those, but they're all in one spot if you need them there. And then of course you can reach out to any of us if you go to the next slide through the Blanco Center email. Happy to answer questions or do air traffic control to get your question to the right person. If you had something for Matthew or Paula, we can make it happen and build that connection. So thank you all for joining us today. It's been wonderful to have you all, and we're so delighted to continue this work with you. So have a wonderful rest of your day, and look forward to seeing you soon. Bye all.